In this ActiveCampaign tutorial, we're going to focus on setting up a basic autoresponder using the automation capability of ActiveCampaign. And then at the very end, we're going to add a slight little tweak that it's going to make it that much more powerful. So my name's Dave, and we're going to start with this account here. This is an account I've had for personal reasons for a number of years. I'm making the assumption that you've already set up ActiveCampaign, you've got a list, you probably have a form, and you're getting contacts into there. Now you want to send them out emails on a regular basis that are automated, not a campaign that you're sending off in one-time events, which you can do, and I highly encourage you, especially if it's related to current events. So let's take a look. I'm going to actually just create a basic form to use so that will get somebody onto an automation or autoresponder. So very basic form, just going to call it test, nothing out of the ordinary, subscribe to list, and let's put them on a list. I'm going to let's make it my family list. So whenever someone fills out this form, and I'm just going to leave it there, nothing fancy. Let me actually go back for 1 second. Is there anything we want to do there? A lot of times my recommendation is just use the open URL. So send them to a thank you page on your site versus just saying thank you. But for the purpose of this, we're not going to worry about that. And then you would take this code, put it on your website, or give them a link, whatever. So need to have a form set up. We're going to use this one called test as a way to get people into an autoresponder in ActiveCampaign. So next step is to go over to automations, and we're going to go ahead and start one. If you haven't done one before, you'll get this message. I'm just going to say create a new automation, and you've got to give it a way to start it. So we're going to just do simply start from scratch. There are a number of different ways, but let's use this because we want to trigger based on somebody signing up. So I'm going to click that, go to continue, and it's going to be this first one. So when they select any list, I'm going to have it from the family. Hang on a second, let's go back here. What are our options? Submits a form, that's the one I want to use. So any form, nope. The test form I just created, and let's only do it once versus getting them multiple times. So this is how we're going to start our autoresponder. And then you're typically going to want to send an email right away. Go for it. So let's click on this. We haven't created one yet, so let's go ahead and click on create an email. This name you give it will not be shown, so I'm just going to call it email 1. And it's going to pop up an editor. You can choose from any of the templates they provide. You'll probably want to style it a little bit to match your look and feel, or you can use ones that you've previously used. I tend to use a lot of text-based with a few images in there, pretty straightforward versus the big template stuff. So I would recommend getting one either designed or take one of the templates and modify it to your use. So for instance, I'm just going to pick off this one and use it. I've used this one before. So what's the subject line? It's going to be welcome, right? Something like that. Continue, go in and change the content to match what you want it to say. And if you notice, there's little blocks. This is a text block, so I could have dragged this over, I already did, and put that here. This is an image block right here. And then there's a text block. So let me go ahead and delete this. Yes, I'm sure I want to. I'm going to delete this other text block, and I'm just going to have one text block here. And one thing I'd recommend when you're sending out that very first email when somebody signs up is keep it simple. And the reason you want to do that is you don't want to get put into the promotions folder, or worse yet, the spam folder of somebody's email account. So if you keep it simple with either just text and maybe one image, and text and one image and maybe one URL, that's about it. Don't go hog wild, overload it with a ton of images, a lot of different links. Don't mention free, money, any kind of spam related words. Keep it very simple. And another tip is you really want to get people to interact with that first email. So maybe ask them a question. Say, hey, thanks for signing up. If you'd be so kind as to let me know what I can help you with the most, please reply back. That indicates to the email providers that you've got a legit email that's been sent, and you'll get priority in getting put into the inbox. Don't underestimate, that has a lot of power so that your emails will go through. So something I'm again going to just say hi, and I can personalize if I've collected. So if I click on personalize, I want to put in, let's say, their first name. So hi, first name. Thanks for signing up. If there is anything I can help you with, please reply back to this email. Thank you. That's it. Something like that. Of course, you can get a lot more fancy, but you want to keep it relatively simple so that you get some engagement on that first email. And then I can now click on next, and I usually use the font size, and I'll show you one thing. So I tend to make it relatively big, and so that it's easy to read on any devices. So let's just make this veranda 18. That's a good size. And then I'm going to go on. I can quit right now at this point, or I could go on to next. So I'm going to go on to next. And at this point, I believe they give you some options with regards to your account settings to use. They give you a summary. Because this is a free account, this ActiveCampaign logo will show up at the bottom. And then you can track links, which there are none here. And I'd recommend having open reading tracking. May not be 100% accurate, but it is useful. And if there were links, I would turn this on. I can go ahead and send a test email to see how it works. And I could save and exit this point, or finish, which is basically save and exiting. So there, first email in the ActiveCampaign automation is set up. And now that I'm looking at it, there's a couple things I want to do. I'm going to click on active so that it actually works. And I'm going to give it a name. Let's call it Autoresponder. Or spell it right. Okay. So a typical autoresponder after that would then have a wait until you send another email. So let's go ahead and choose this. We want to go through here. We don't want to send. We're not doing any of these. If we do conditions and workflow, we want to click on wait. Now we can wait for a specified period of time and then until specific conditions are met. So let's just do specific specified time, and let's just wait for 1 day. We can wait until, we can wait by minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, and even years. My recommendation is to use the minutes, hours, days feature. And one thing to note is you can do minutes and do 1 minute, but they're going to tell you you have to wait at least 5 minutes. And that's smart because if there's a syncing issue, in other words, if you're trying to do things too fast, sometimes system doesn't keep up. So they say a minimum of 5 minutes. So let's wait 1 day, and then we're going to send out another email. I would recommend keeping kind of a consistent look and feel to your emails. Let's just go ahead and actually create another one. I'm going to go back here to sending options, send an email. We could resend this. That's a little secret I'm going to show you at the end here, but let's go ahead and create a new email. I'm going to call it email 2. I think I called the first one email 1. And again, I'm simply going to use the last campaign that I did. So email 1, because I want to use the same look and feel. Hi there. And trust me, I'm not actually using this. I would definitely put a lot more effort into the subject line, the content. And okay, so what do you think so far? So, that's, and I'd add more, maybe at this point I want to put an image in. So if I would come over here and drag this image block, and you kind of have to line it up right, this would be on the side, but really I wanted to put it right there. When that green line goes all the way across, that indicates there's an image there. So I'm going to go ahead and click on that, and I could add a new image, but let's just use one that we've already used before. So let's use the dog. Now, one thing you'll probably find out is people will actually try and click on images a lot. So what I could do is if I just click on that image and I go over here, there's a place to put in a link. So if somebody does click on that image, I want them to go to a particular site. And in this case, I'm just putting example.com. So there. So there I've got an image, I've got a text block, I've got an image. Now I'm going to put another text block down here. I could add a button, etc., etc. Let's go do that. And notice the text font size and style is different than up here. So what I like to do is just copy this, paste it in this new block, and it didn't quite change it. So let's just make sure we get the same there and there. And one thing, ActiveCampaign, the line height, I know this seems kind of weird. So it says 130 for this 1%. That's a good line height for making it readable. Notice this one defaulted to auto, so I'm going to go ahead and change it to 130 to match the one above. So there we go. And then of course I'm going to change this. Here's my dog. And just for fun, let's put in a button thing right there. So let's change this to say, click this. And honestly, I don't really use these buttons, but I just want to kind of show you the feature. So let's put that. Let's give it the link, the same as the image. And what other options? Okay. And then you could actually do something else based on somebody clicking that link, which is kind of a powerful feature. And can I do anything here? Let's change the background to, I don't know, red. Ugh. And why don't we change the font? Can we change the font? Good enough. So anyways, there's my second email in this autoresponder series. It's thinking right now. Okay, and you get a sanity check there. Link tracking is on this time because there are some links. I definitely recommend that because that's useful to know. So there, we've built a basic autoresponder. When somebody submits the form called test, they're going to receive an email automatically, immediately, wait 1 day, and then we're going to send a second email. Now, one way I would suggest to change this is to send out emails on their schedule. ActiveCampaign has the ability to determine where people are located. I think it's based on IP address. And that way you can sync up emails that might show up at just the right time. Maybe 7 or 8 a.m. in the morning during weekdays would be a good one. So for the next email, let's wait. Let's make some assumptions. So we want to wait, let's wait 20 hours. So if we do that, let's do wait. We're going to wait 20 hours. And save that. Now we're going to add another wait, which is this time until specific conditions are met. And we want to go and look at date and time. And we want to do current time based on the contact's time zone, not based on mine, based on theirs. So the current time zone, contact's time zone. Yeah, current time. And let's say we want to send it out at 8 a.m. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and save. And just to be safe, I'm going to say up to 2 days. right? I mean, it's obviously going to happen within 2 days. That's going to happen within less than a day because if we put in that 20-hour wait. So now this guarantees that I'm going to be sending out an email to them at 8 a.m. in the morning, their time. And for every email, I'm going to basically repeat this so that this does happen at 8 a.m. in the contact's local time zone. So we started by sending off an email automatically, immediately, and then we basically wait a day, send the next one. And actually, let's go ahead and change this. So we're going to wait 20 hours. 20 hours. And then we are going to wait until it's 8 a.m. Current time in their time zone is 8 a.m. Save that. And I will get rid of this now. So now, going forward, so they immediately get an email, 8 a.m. In theory, the next day they get the second email, and then the third email would come out on the same thing, 8 a.m. So again, I'm going to send an email, and I'm going to create another email, email 3. And as you might imagine, I'm simply going to use the template from this last one. Actually, let's use this one, the previous one. Third day, sure, third day. And whew, yeah, that's some stellar copywriting there. You might want to keep track of that and use that one because that's going to win you a lot of friends. Okay, so we've got basically a 3-part autoresponder. Let's stop with that for now. And not a bad idea to end this automation, and it does end. Don't really want to leave people hanging, and there's some good reason for that when we go to the next step, which is to use goals so that we can kind of measure how effective our emails are. So that's it. That is a basic autoresponder, which starts when somebody submits a form. Then they get that very first email, the welcome email that you want them to interact with right away. And then I'm trying to send out the remaining emails at 8 a.m. in their time zone. And then at the very end, we just end this automation. So this is good. I think we can do a lot better. It kind of makes me sad when I see people use automations or autoresponders in this way with a service like ActiveCampaign. There's so much more you can do with it. So next step is to actually use it a lot more effectively, in my opinion. So watch what we're going to do. We're going to make a copy of this. And a lot of it's going to look the same, but we want to really get people to read or consume our emails. You'll find that not everyone opens their emails for whatever reason. They sign up and I don't know, they just decide they don't want it, or they miss it, or they're busy, or something like that. So I'm going to change the name. I'm going to call it Autoresponder 1. Save it. I'll make it active. Everything's going to start the same way. So the contact submits their form. They get sent immediately that first email. Now watch what I'm going to do here. I'm going to put in another wait. I am going to wait for a day. Just go with me on this one. And I am going to send the exact same email again. If I wanted to get fancy, I could, so we have 3 emails to work with. If I wanted to get fancy, I could make a different version. But you know what? That's not what I want to accomplish. Now, this email is going to get sent. We're going to wait for a day. We're going to send it another time. Why in the heck would we do that? Well, watch the next step. We're going to have a goal here. And this is kind of the power of ActiveCampaign and services like this. So let's set a goal. So we're going to call this goal email 1, and we want this to occur when I think it's actions, has clicked, has opened. Not any campaign. Why do we have 3 of these? Let's do this guy. So when they've opened email 1, we want to set a goal. And what'll happen is let me just save that real quick. What happens here is if somebody comes in, they open this email, and the next thing that's going to happen is they're going to jump down to this goal. In other words, they're going to skip this wait and they're going to skip this email. So they're not going to get a second copy of this. This is kind of the genius behind a service like ActiveCampaign. We're basically doing things based on people's behavior. So if they interact, then we know that we can skip over this second email. This is kind of assuming the worst case, that people aren't doing anything. So we're going to get this email sent, wait, send another email. But if within that first day they actually open this email, we're going to jump over it. And then regardless of whether they met this goal or not, and if you look, you could wait until they actually do it before you continue, or simply in the automation. We just want to let them pass right through. And then they're going to get the second email. And guess what we're going to do here? We're going to put another wait for a day. And then we're going to send that email number 2. And you know what? I should make sure this is actually the first email. Let me just make sure it should be this very first one. Save that. And we want to again set a goal. This will be email 2. And we want this goal to be met when somebody has opened email 2. Now, one other thing we could have done simply if they would have clicked the link. If we want to be a little bit tougher, we could have done click the link. So it could have done is instead of has opened, has clicked on a link. And let's do in email 2, any link in email 2, but it just so happens this link. So let's just leave that. That could be one goal that we want. If we want to get a little bit more than just opening the email, we could do has clicked on a link. But let's go back and make it nice and easy. Has opened email 2. Save it. Save that as is. And we'll go for the third email. So we want to wait a day. So this person that gets put into here could actually end up getting 6 emails if they don't open any of the emails. So let's go ahead now and send email 3 again. And then we'll put a goal here. Email 3. And if they've opened there. Now, opening emails isn't necessarily the best way to measure a goal. I say that because what if, Gmail opens the email and that's considered an open? That's just something to be concerned with or consider. For the purposes of this, I think it's a good enough reason to simply skip over sending it again. Now, if I was trying to get some very specific behavior, like I want somebody to actually click on a link or visit a web page, I might make that the goal versus simply opening it. And if I did that, I'd probably end up sending a different email, very much related to the previous email, but it would be worded different versus sending exactly the same. So now we've got a much more powerful automation or autoresponder, and the likelihood that you get more people to open and read your content is higher because you're simply giving them more of a chance to do that. So that's what I'd recommend for setting up an autoresponder inside ActiveCampaign. So I hope you enjoyed this ActiveCampaign tutorial, and if there's anything you'd like to see, let me know. Thanks.